The NFL draft is just around the corner, and you know what that means. Everyone has an opinion on who the Cowboys should pick at number 12. But when a legend speaks, the entire Cowboys nation listens. And that's exactly what happened when Michael Irvin, the playmaker himself, made his pick. Irvin, one of the greatest wide receivers in Cowboys history, knows what it takes to win championships. He was part of the iconic triplets alongside Troy Aikman and Emmitt Smith, leading the Cowboys to 3 Super Bowl victories. So when he talks about talent, it's worth paying attention. During a recent discussion, Irvin was asked a crucial question. If both Jeanty and Matthew Golden are still on the board at pick 12, who should the Cowboys select? Without hesitation, he chose Jeanty. His reasoning? Running backs like Jeanty can transform an offense, just like Emmitt Smith did back in the day. According to Irvin, Jeanty's ability to carry a team on his back makes him a no-brainer pick. But here's the real question. Do you agree with him? If Jeanty and Golden are both available at 12, who should the Cowboys take? Vote in the poll above and let your voice be heard. Now, while Irvin's choice seems logical, there's a problem. As much as we'd love to see Jeanty in a Cowboys uniform, there's a strong chance he won't even be available when Dallas is on the clock. The hype around him is real, and many teams in front of the Cowboys could take him off the board. So let's break it down. How realistic is it for Jeanty to slip to 12? And if he doesn't, what's plan B for the Cowboys? Stick around because we're about to dive into the hard truth about Jeanty's availability. Look, we all love the idea of adding a dynamic playmaker like Jeanty to the Cowboys' offense. But let's be real. There's a high chance he won't be there at pick 12. Jeanty is being hyped as a generational talent, a running back who can change the identity of an offense overnight. His explosiveness, vision, and ability to make plays as both a runner and a receiver make him one of the most sought-after prospects in this draft class. And that's exactly why teams picking before Dallas could snatch him up long before the Cowboys even have a chance. Think about it. The New York Giants desperately need a replacement for Saquon Barkley. With Daniel Jones struggling, adding a game-changing running back would take pressure off their quarterback and immediately improve their offense. They could easily take Jeanty before Dallas gets the chance. And what about the Las Vegas Raiders? They just brought in Geno Smith, and they need to build a balanced offense around him. Pairing Jeanty with a solid offensive line would give them a lethal ground game. Then there's the New Orleans Saints and the Chicago Bears, 2 teams that could benefit from an elite running back to complement their quarterbacks. If Jeanty is as good as everyone says, why would any of these teams pass on him? This brings us to a tough reality. Banking on Jeanty falling to the Cowboys might be wishful thinking. Unless something unexpected happens on draft night, there's a good chance he's gone before Dallas even gets a chance to make their pick. So here's the big question for you. Do you think there's any way Jeanty makes it to pick 12? Or are we setting ourselves up for disappointment? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Now, if Jeanty is off the board, what should the Cowboys do? Should they pivot to another position? Or is there another hidden gem that could make just as big of an impact? Up next, we'll break down the best alternatives for Dallas if Jeanty is no longer available. All right, let's face it. If Jeanty is off the board when the Cowboys are on the clock, they can't afford to panic. The question then becomes, do they pivot to another position? Or is there another prospect who makes just as much sense? One name that keeps coming up is Matthew Golden, a speedster who could give the Cowboys a deep threat on offense. But is he really worth the 12th overall pick? Some analysts believe he's a borderline first-round talent, meaning Dallas might be reaching if they take him that high. So, if Golden isn't the answer, who is? Let's talk about 3 realistic wide receiver options who could be a perfect fit for Dallas. Emeka Egbuka. If the Cowboys want a dependable, Dak-friendly receiver, Egbuka is their guy. He's polished, runs crisp routes, and has great hands. He might not have blazing speed, but his ability to make tough catches in traffic makes him a reliable weapon. Tetai Roa McMillan. If size and catch radius are priorities, McMillan is the prototype. Standing at 6'5", he'd give Dak Prescott a massive target in the red zone. The Cowboys have been lacking a true contested catch specialist, and McMillan could fill that void. Luther Burden III, a dynamic playmaker who can line up anywhere on the field. He brings explosiveness and versatility, something the Cowboys' offense could use more of. If they want someone who can create after the catch, Burden should be high on the list. So now it's your turn. If Jeanty is gone, which wide receiver should the Cowboys take at 12? Vote in the poll above and tell me why in the comments. Now, drafting a WR in the first round means the Cowboys would still need a running back to complement Tony Pollard. But what's the best way to approach that? Should Dallas target a running back in the second round instead? Let's dive into the perfect draft strategy up next. If the Cowboys want to maximize their draft capital, they need to follow a simple but effective strategy. Overcomplicating things could lead to another draft disaster, and we've seen too many of those in recent years. Step 1 is obvious. If Ashton Jeanty is available at 12, you take him. No hesitation. But as we've discussed, that's unlikely. So, what's the backup plan? The answer: draft a dominant wide receiver first, then find your running back in the second round. If Jeanty is gone, we've already talked about WR options like Emeka Egbuka, Tet McMillan, and Luther Burden III. Any of these three would give the Cowboys a true playmaker on offense, something they desperately need. Then, in the second round, the Cowboys should target a running back who can still be a game changer. The perfect option? Tre'Veyon Henderson. Henderson is a powerful, explosive back who has been compared to some of the best in the league. He may not be Jeanty, but he's got the potential to be a major force in the Cowboys' offense. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Should the Cowboys focus on Dak-friendly receivers instead of pure speed? Historically, bigger receivers with a wide catch radius have helped Dak Prescott succeed. If that's the case, McMillan or Egbuka might make more sense than a smaller speedster like Matthew Golden. So let's settle this. Should the Cowboys prioritize a WR who fits Dak's play style, or just go for the best talent available? Vote in the poll and drop your thoughts in the comments. The strategy is set. Now, there's just one final piece. What should the Cowboys ultimately do on draft night? Up next, we'll break down the best possible decision Dallas can make. We've broken down Michael Irvin's pick, the reality of Jeanty's availability, alternative draft strategies, and the best way to approach the first 2 rounds. Now it all comes down to one final question. What's the best move for the Cowboys? The key here isn't just who they draft, but how they think long-term. This team doesn't just need a flashy pick, they need a foundation for success. If Jeanty somehow falls to 12, you take him, no questions asked. But if he's gone, the smartest move is to draft a dominant WR first and secure a top-tier RB in the second round. A duo of Emeka Egbuka and Tre'Veyon Henderson could be a franchise-altering combination. But here's the big debate. Should the Cowboys draft for immediate impact or for long-term success? Some players might be ready to shine from day one, while others could develop into future superstars. So, let's put it to a vote. Should Dallas go all in on a win-now player or focus on building for the future? Vote in the poll and tell me what you think in the comments. And of course, I want to hear from you. Do you agree with Michael Irvin's take? Who do you want the Cowboys to draft in the first round? Drop your picks below. Before you go, don't forget, hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications, so you never miss an update on your Cowboys. We've got a lot more draft coverage coming, and you won't want to miss it. The draft is almost here, and this pick could define the future of the Cowboys. Let's hope they make the right one. Until next time, let's talk Cowboys, where we talk facts.